The ultimatum. The sky over New York turned black in the middle of the day. People froze where they stood, pointing upward. A massive hologram shimmered into existence, stretching from one horizon to the other. It was not human. Its face was pale silver with eyes like molten gold. It wore armor made of something that looked older than Earth itself. When it spoke, the voice was deep and cold, echoing across the planet. People of Earth, it said, you are now property of the Galactic Empire. Surrender your leaders, your armies, and your fleets. If you resist, your planet will burn. The words were translated instantly into every language, playing on every screen, radio, and communicator. Panic spread like wildfire. In the streets, people screamed. Some fell to their knees. Others ran for shelter. In the United Nations Hall, leaders of every nation sat frozen, their faces pale. Captain Daniel Cross watched from the war room of Earth's Orbital Defense Command. His jaw tightened. For years he had trained for the day. Humanity would meet alien life. He never expected the first words from them would be a demand for slavery. General Helena Voss stood beside him, her eyes cold as ice. They came sooner than we thought, she said, her voice flat. Daniel didn't reply. His mind was already running through battle plans. On the hologram, the alien continued speaking. You have 3 Earth days to comply, kneel, or be erased. Then the image flickered and vanished, leaving the world in stunned silence. In the war room, murmurs began. Some officers whispered about surrender. Others demanded immediate retaliation. Daniel's voice cut through them all. If we kneel now, we'll never stand again. A junior officer, barely 20, swallowed hard. But sir, they're ships. They're everywhere. Daniel turned to the main screen. Satellite feeds showed alien warships already in Earth's orbit, huge and bristling with weapons. He had seen their kind before, hulking, slow, built to intimidate, but he knew intimidation was only one part of war. General, Daniel said quietly, do we still have the fleet? Helena's lips curved into the faintest smile. They've been waiting for years, she said. In deep asteroid fields, behind the moon's shadow, in hidden docks under the oceans, humanity has been preparing for this moment. While the world believed Earth's military was weak, a secret alliance of nations had been building something powerful, not just ships, but warships. Fast, armored, armed with weapons the aliens had never seen, weapons built from human creativity, not alien templates. In the streets below, chaos raged. Newscasters repeated the ultimatum. Markets crashed. In space, the alien fleet moved slowly, their movements like a predator toying with its prey. They didn't fire yet. They didn't need to. They believed fear would make Earth surrender without a single shot. Helena looked at Daniel, her eyes hard. The council will meet in 1 hour. They'll want to talk about terms, she said. Daniel's hand clenched into a fist. Terms? He repeated. The only terms they'll get from me are at gunpoint. 1 hour later, the World Defense Council gathered in a secure chamber under the United Nations. Screens lined the walls, showing the alien ships in orbit. Voices argued, some calling for negotiation, some for resistance. The president of the United Earth Coalition stood and spoke. We have one chance to decide our future. If we fight, we risk extinction. If we submit, we lose our freedom forever. Helena's voice was calm but sharp. They think we're weak. That's their first mistake. Their second mistake will be underestimating our will to fight. The debate raged for hours, but when the final vote was cast, the decision was made. Earth would not surrender. That night, Daniel received his orders. He walked alone through the corridors of the orbital command station, the hum of engines and distant chatter echoing around him. He stopped before a sealed steel door. A retinal scan confirmed his identity. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was the command bridge of the EHS Valiant, the newest and most advanced warship in the fleet. Its hull gleamed like black glass, its cannons retracted but ready. Crew members snapped to attention as Daniel entered. He looked over them. Pilots, engineers, gunners, all handpicked for this mission. He spoke only one sentence. We launch at dawn. Outside the station, hidden in the dark side of the moon, the rest of the fleet waited. 40 warships, each one a nightmare of human engineering. They were built for speed, for precision, for overwhelming firepower. And tomorrow, the galaxy would see them for the first time. Daniel stood by the window looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Empire was certain of its victory. He smiled, not because he underestimated them, but because they had underestimated us. In the silence of space, the Valiant's engines began to hum. War was coming and humanity was ready to answer. The War Council, the hidden asteroid base, floated in the black silence of space, invisible to any scanner that didn't know exactly where to look. It was a fortress carved into rock, bristling with weapons and shield arrays. Yet on the outside, it looked like nothing more than a dead piece of stone. Inside, the heart of Earth's secret defense beat quietly, waiting. Captain Daniel Cross's shuttle slid through the narrow entrance tunnel. The hangar opened before him, massive enough to hold 10 warships side by side. Rows of sleek black ships rested in their docks, their hulls polished and armed. The sight made Daniel's chest tighten, not with fear, but with pride. As soon as he stepped out, the air smelled faintly of metal and fuel. Crew members moved with purpose, loading ammunition, running last checks on engines. This was not a base for hiding. It was a launch pad for war. At the far end of the hangar, a tall woman in a dark blue uniform waited. Her hair was cut short, her eyes sharp enough to cut steel. Admiral Helena Voss, the kind of leader soldiers followed without question. She had commanded victories before, but this war would test even her. Captain Cross, she greeted him, her voice steady. The council is waiting for us. Her boots clicked against the metal floor as she led him down a long corridor. Screens along the walls showed live feeds from hidden probes. Empire fleets moved lazily in Earth's orbit, their formation wide, as if confident no threat could touch them. The War Council chamber was a circular room deep in the asteroid's core. Around the table sat the highest-ranking officers of Earth's unified defense, along with scientists, engineers, and intelligence chiefs. The president of the United Earth Coalition appeared on a large holoscreen, her face tense. "Admiral, Captain," she said, "the situation is worse than we feared." A tactical officer tapped a console. A three-dimensional map lit up, showing red markers spread across the solar system. "These are confirmed Empire fleet positions," he explained. "Our probes count over 200 warships already in range." Gasps and curses filled the room. The numbers were enough to crush most worlds in a single campaign. One general slammed his hand on the table. "Then we should negotiate. The people will not survive an orbital strike." A scientist shook her head sharply. "Negotiation will only buy us chains. The Empire never leaves a world free once they set foot on it." Helena raised her hand, silencing the voices. "They believe we will surrender without a fight," she said, her tone like cold iron. "That belief is our weapon." She turned to Daniel. "Captain, you'll lead Strike Group Alpha. Your task will be to draw first blood." Murmurs rippled through the room. Daniel leaned forward. "What's our target?" he asked. Helena brought up a new image. An Empire patrol station orbiting near Jupiter. "It's lightly defended, but if we take it, the Empire will realize Earth is not prey," she said, "and they will come for us in full force." The council debated strategy for hours. They spoke of supply lines, stealth routes, and hidden refueling stations. They argued over how much to reveal about Earth's real strength. In the end, a plan emerged, swift, sharp strikes to cripple the Empire's control before they could tighten their grip. But the meeting was not without tension. One intelligence officer revealed intercepted messages between alien commanders. "They are laughing at us," he said. "They call us primitives with toys. They believe our ships are fragile, our pilots inexperienced." Daniel's hands curled into fists. "They're about to find out what a primitive can do," he said quietly. As the council adjourned, Helena and Daniel walked side by side toward the hangar. The hum of engines and the clank of metal rang through the air. War crews moved with deadly focus, loading missiles, calibrating shields, checking weapons that had never been fired in open combat. Helena stopped and faced him. "Once we make the first strike, there's no going back," she warned. Daniel met her gaze. "I don't plan on going back," he said. The hangar doors opened, revealing the deep void of space. Beyond, the Valiant and dozens of other warships floated like predators waiting for the hunt to begin. Their black hulls blended with the shadows, invisible to any Empire scanner. It was as if the night itself had grown teeth. Daniel stepped aboard his ship, the familiar hum of the engines beneath his feet. His crew saluted, their faces a mix of fear and determination. He took his seat in the captain's chair, looking out into the endless dark. Somewhere out there, the Empire believed Earth would kneel, but the next time they saw humanity, it would be through the fire of our guns. The first move. The Valiant slipped out of the asteroid base like a shadow leaving the night. Its engines burned cold and blue, whispering against the silence of space. No fanfare, no farewell, only the quiet promise of a fight that could change the fate of the world. Captain Daniel Cross stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the main display. In the distance, Jupiter loomed, its swirling storms glowing faintly in the sunlight. Orbiting high above it was the Empire's patrol station, Station Calthar 7. It looked harmless from afar, but Daniel knew it was a nerve point in the Empire's grip on the system. The station controlled deep space communications, destroy it, and the Empire's fleets would be blind to each other in this sector. The catch was simple. It had to be done fast before reinforcements arrived. Status? Daniel asked, his voice steady. Stealth field holding, weapons charged, shields at 60%, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Raina Kaur. Helena's voice came through the comms from her flagship far across the system. Strike Group Alpha, this is Admiral Voss. On my mark, you move. Daniel's hand hovered over the fire control. He could feel the crew's tension, every breath in sync with his. No one spoke. No one moved. The only sound was the low hum of the ship's systems. Mark, Helena's voice cut in like a blade. The Valiant surged forward, its stealth field dropping like a shed cloak. Lasers and plasma bolts ripped into the station's outer defenses before alarms could even sound. The first enemy turret exploded in a ball of molten metal. Empire gunners scrambled to respond, their return fire scattering harmlessly off the Valiant's forward shields. A second and third warship emerged from the dark behind Daniel, the EHS Falcon and EHS Nemesis firing in perfect unison. The patrol station's outer ring cracked under the barrage, drifting pieces tumbling toward Jupiter's pull. On the Empire's command deck, panic erupted. A young alien officer shouted, "It's humans! They're not supposed to have ships like these!" The commander snarled, "Then burn them from the sky!" The enemy's main cannon roared to life. A beam of raw energy lanced toward the Valiant. Daniel's voice was calm. Evasive pattern Delta 7. The ship twisted in a corkscrew motion, the beam missing by meters. Daniel smiled faintly. That's the problem with big guns. They can't hit what they can't catch. Sir, Raina called out, we're reading a massive power surge. Daniel's eyes narrowed. They're calling for backup, he muttered. And then the sensor alarm screamed. From the far side of Jupiter, a shape emerged. It was not just another patrol ship. It was a dreadnought. Its shadow swallowed the stars, its hull bristling with enough weapons to vaporize a city in seconds. The crew stared in silence, the size of it almost unreal. Orders, sir? Raina asked, her voice tight. Daniel didn't flinch. Finish the station, he said. But the dreadnought. Finish the station, he repeated, his tone like iron. The Valiant and its sister ships poured every weapon into Calthar 7. Explosions ripped through its core, and in seconds the massive structure broke apart. Debris scattered into Jupiter's orbit like shattered glass. The dreadnought opened fire, its first volley striking the Falcon and sending it spinning. Damage alarms lit up across the fleet's displays. Jump drive ready in 10 seconds, Raina shouted. Daniel shook his head. We're not running yet, he said. Lock missiles on the dreadnought's engines. The crew froze for a moment. It was suicide to target a ship that size, but Daniel's eyes burned with something more dangerous than fear. Do it, he ordered. The missiles launched, streaking across the void. They slammed into the dreadnought's engine array. The blast didn't. It destroyed it, but it tore open part of its rear armor, venting fire and atmosphere into space. The massive ship slowed, its weapons faltering for precious seconds. Now, Daniel said. The Valiant vanished in a blur of light, followed by the Falcon and Nemesis. They jumped to deep space, leaving the crippled dreadnought behind. On the Empire's command channel, chaos filled the air. Earth had struck first and hard. Daniel leaned back in his chair. They wanted to see if we'd fight, he said quietly. Now they know. Fire over Mars. The red world burned in the distance. From orbit, Mars looked calm, dust storms swirling across its surface like silent ghosts. But Daniel knew the calm was a lie. Beneath that dusty sky, the Empire had already landed troops, cutting off Earth's colonies from communications. If Mars fell, the path to Earth would be wide open. The Valiant dropped out of hyperspace with 2 other warships at its side. Immediately, alarms lit up the bridge. Multiple enemy signatures, Reyna reported, her voice tight. We're looking at 30 ships. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Admiral Voss, he called into the comms. Her voice came back sharp and clear. Alpha Group, your job is to hold Mars orbit until my reinforcements arrive, no matter the cost. Daniel didn't need to ask what no matter the cost meant. Enemy ships moved in fast, their hulls gleaming with silver light. They were faster than the patrol ships near Jupiter, sleeker, deadlier, but they didn't know what was waiting for them. Bring the rail cannon online, Daniel ordered. Reyna hesitated. Sir, the prototype? It's not even tested. Daniel's tone left no room for argument. Test it now. Hidden in the Valiant's underbelly was a weapon unlike anything in the galaxy, a magnetic rail system capable of firing a solid tungsten slug at near-light speed. It had been designed in secret under TBT. Mars colonies built with the last of Earth's rare metals. If it worked, it could cut a capital ship in half. If it failed, it could rip the Valiant apart. Fire, he said. The ship shook as the slug tore free. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. Then the enemy cruiser split cleanly down the middle, its pieces drifting apart in slow motion. The alien fleet froze. No one in the Empire had ever seen a weapon do that. Load again, Daniel said. But the aliens were already moving. 3 of their ships broke formation, diving straight at the Valiant in a desperate attempt to stop the cannon. Human destroyers cut across their path, intercepting with volleys of missiles. One by one, the attackers exploded in white-hot bursts. Then the sky above Mars changed. A shadow fell across the battlefield. A massive Empire battleship. Its hull was black, absorbing the light, its cannons glowing with the buildup of energy. This one's not here to scare us, Reyna whispered. Daniel stood, his hand gripping the armrest. No, he said. This one's here to kill us. The battleship opened fire, its main beams slicing through one of Earth's frigates, tearing it in half. Screams from the comms filled the bridge for a moment before going silent. Daniel's jaw tightened. Target the battleship's forward batteries, he ordered. The rail cannon fired again, the slug smashing into the massive gun array. A shockwave rolled across its hull, blowing off armor plating, but the ship kept coming. On Mars's surface, the colony sent desperate calls for help. Empire troops were advancing, their drop pods falling like black rain. Daniel knew they couldn't win this battle by simply holding the line. They had to break it. Then Helena's voice cut in. Daniel, listen carefully, she said, her tone deadly calm. I've just arrived in orbit with the Second Fleet. We're going to push them into your firing range. Moments later, the void lit up. Helena's warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, unleashing a barrage that slammed the enemy fleet. Sideways, the battleship turned to face the new threat, exposing its engines to the Valiant. Now, Helena said. Daniel didn't hesitate. The rail cannon's third shot roared into the battleship's engine core. The explosion tore through its spine, fire blooming like a second sun. The shockwave rippled across the battlefield, scattering smaller ships like leaves in a storm. Mars was safe, for now. But as the human fleet regrouped, Daniel looked at the wreckage drifting in orbit. He knew the Empire would see this as more than a battle lost. They would see it as an insult that demanded revenge. The Empire strikes back. The news came like a knife to the heart. While the battle over Mars was still cooling, reports poured in from Earth's outer colonies. The Empire wasn't retreating, they were attacking somewhere else. 3 colonies on the far edge of human territory, New Titan, Horizon, and Vega's Reach, were under siege. They weren't military targets. They were home to millions of civilians, miners, farmers, engineers. The Empire had chosen them for one reason only, to break humanity's will. On the Valiant's bridge, Daniel stood over the tactical display. Red icons flared across the map, each one a distress beacon. Reyna's voice was low, almost shaking. They're bombing the cities. They're not even aiming for military sites. Admiral Voss appeared on the main holoscreen, her expression carved from stone. Captain Cross, your orders are to regroup with the main fleet for the next strike, she said. Daniel's eyes locked on hers. Ma'am, if we wait, those colonies will be ash. Her voice didn't waver. Every soldier knows you can't save everyone. Daniel didn't argue, not with words, but the decision had already formed in his mind. He would not leave those people to die. When the comms cut, he turned to his crew. "I'm giving you a choice," he said. "This mission is off the books. If you stay with me, we go to Vega's Reach right now. If you leave, no one will think less of you." Not a single crew member moved toward the exit. The Valiant's engines flared to life, breaking from formation. The journey was short but tense. They traveled in stealth mode, using asteroid shadows to mask their trail. Every few minutes, the sensors picked up enemy chatter. Empire ships laughing about burning human towns to the ground. Daniel's jaw tightened until it hurt. When Vega's Reach came into view, the crew went silent. The colony's green valleys were burning, plumes of smoke curling into the thin sky. Empire troop carriers hovered above the settlements, dropping wave after wave of soldiers. 2 enemy cruisers patrolled the upper atmosphere, their guns sweeping for anything that moved. "Sir, we're outnumbered 3-1, Reyna said. Daniel's voice was quiet. "Then we make every shot count." The Valiant dove straight into the atmosphere, shields blazing. The first cruiser didn't have time to react. The rail cannon's slug punched straight through its midsection, tearing it apart in a burst of fire. The second cruiser turned to engage, but the Valiant's forward batteries ripped into its engines, sending it spiraling toward the planet below. With the skies clear, Daniel ordered low-altitude strafing runs. The Valiant's cannons tore through the Empire's ground forces, scattering them like ants. Civilians ran for cover as the ship's drop pods landed, releasing armed security teams to escort them to safe zones. The battle dragged on for hours. Even as they pushed the enemy back, more troop carriers tried to break through. Finally, a massive shadow fell across the battlefield. Another Empire warship, this one twice the size of the Valiant. Daniel knew the odds. I couldn't win a prolonged fight against it. But then something unexpected happened. A fleet of small, fast ships emerged from the far horizon, their hulls marked with the insignia of Horizon Colony. They weren't warships, they were cargo haulers, mining craft, even retrofitted fishing vessels. But they were armed, and they charged straight into the Empire's flank, guns blazing. The Empire ship turned to deal with this new threat. That was its last mistake. The Valiant fired the rail cannon at point-blank range, the slug smashing through the warship's command deck. It exploded in a fireball that lit the sky for miles. The surviving enemy forces fled. Vega's Reach was safe, at least for now. Daniel looked at the smoke rising from the towns, knowing the Empire would never forgive what he had done. This wasn't just war anymore. It was personal, the heart of the Empire. The Valiant drifted in total darkness, no running lights, no active scans, only the faint hum of its cloaking field kept it from becoming a ghost in space. Around it, the alien stars of the Empire's home sector glimmered cold and distant. Daniel stood at the bridge, eyes locked on the single red icon on the tactical map. It marked the Empire's capital world, Avaris Prime. It wasn't just a planet. It was the beating heart of 1,000 conquered systems, ringed by fleets, covered in orbital platforms. Any normal fleet that approached would be torn apart before even reaching the atmosphere. But the Valiant wasn't here for a normal attack. Admiral Voss's voice came over the secure channel, low and calm. "Strike Group Alpha, you have one mission. Get in, deliver the package, and get out alive." Daniel glanced at the sealed metal case in the corner of the bridge. Inside was not a weapon, it was a message. A full broadcast of Earth's defiance, its victories, and the destruction of every Empire fleet that had dared to challenge them. If the people of the Empire saw it, the myth of their invincibility would shatter. Approaching outer perimeter, Reyna reported. On the view screen, massive defense platforms came into view, each one bristling with cannons the size of skyscrapers. Daniel's voice was steady. "Activate the shadow drive." The ship shimmered, then vanished completely from every scanner. They slipped between 2 massive warships, so close the crew could see alien deck lights through the viewing ports. The enemy didn't even know they were there. As they neared the planet, the lights of Avaris Prime filled the screen. Cities sprawled across continents, glowing like rivers of fire. Alien ships patrolled the skies, unaware that a human warship had just crossed into their most protected space. "Commence upload," Daniel ordered. Reyna's fingers danced over the console. A pulse of encrypted data streamed toward the planet's comm network. One by one, alien broadcasts flickered and changed. Citizens of the Empire stopped in their tracks as images of human warships filled their screens. They saw the destruction of Calthar 7, the burning wreck of the dreadnought over Mars, the fall of the battleship at Vega's Reach. Daniel's voice rang out over the transmission. To the people of the Empire, your rulers told you we would kneel. They told you we were weak. They lied. We will never kneel. Across the capital, crowds gathered around giant screens. Some aliens stared in disbelief. Others began to cheer. The seeds of doubt had been planted, but the moment didn't last. Multiple enemy contacts incoming, Reyna warned. A fleet of interceptors had picked up their transmission signal. The cloaking field was gone. Now they were prey in the most dangerous hunting ground in the galaxy. Punch the throttle, Daniel ordered. The Valiant roared away from the planet, weaving between skyscraper-high defense beams. 2 interceptors exploded behind them, but more closed in. Then, just ahead, the black outline of Helena's flagship emerged from the void, its cannons lighting up the dark. Thought you could have all the fun without me? Helena's voice cut through the chaos. Her fleet smashed into the interceptors, giving the Valiant a clear escape corridor. The 2 ships jumped into hyperspace together, vanishing in a flash. As the stars stretched into lines, Daniel looked back at the fading image of Avaris Prime. They hadn't destroyed the capital, but they had done something worse. They had made the Empire's people start to question their masters. The final stand. The galaxy held its breath. The broadcast from Avaris Prime had spread faster than the Empire could shut it down. In marketplaces, on warships, in the quiet corners of conquered worlds, aliens whispered of humans who would not kneel. The Emperor himself could not ignore it. From the depths of the Empire's most guarded shipyard, his personal flagship emerged. It was called Oblivion's Hand, larger than any ship Daniel had ever seen. Its hull was carved with ancient symbols, its weapons older than some stars. It was not just a warship, it was a moving fortress, and it was heading straight for Earth. The Valiant rejoined the main fleet in orbit above the moon. Hundreds of human warships formed a wall between the planet and the void. Admiral Voss stood on her flagship's bridge, her voice steady but sharp. This is it. We stop them here or we lose everything. Daniel's crew moved with silent precision. No one needed speeches now. Everyone knew the stakes. The Emperor's voice boomed across all frequencies. Humans, I give you one final chance. Kneel and live, or burn with your world. Daniel answered without hesitation. We don't kneel. The first volley came like a storm. Oblivion's Hand opened fire, beams tearing through space. 3 human destroyers were vaporized instantly. The fleet returned fire. Rail cannons and missile barrages lighting the darkness. The Emperor's flagship barely flinched, its shields rippling but holding. Daniel knew brute force wouldn't win. They needed a strike at the heart. Admiral, I'm taking the Valiant in close, he said. Helena's reply was short. Make it count. The Valiant roared forward, weaving between burning debris and enemy fire. Empire escorts swarmed, but Helena's fleet cut them down, clearing a path. Daniel pushed the engines beyond their safety limits, alarms screaming. The massive shape of Oblivion's Hand filled the view screen. Every gun it had now locked on the Valiant. Reyna's hands flew over the controls. Targeting their shield generators, she said. The rail cannon fired, slug after slug smashing into the same point. Cracks flared across the flagship's shimmering barrier. Then, one last shot shattered it like glass. Daniel didn't slow. They dove straight toward the flagship's command tower. At point-blank range, the Valiant unleashed everything. Rail cannon, missiles, plasma beams. The tower erupted in flame, explosions racing down the ship's spine. Through the fire, a deep voice echoed on the comm. The Emperor himself. You will fall, he growled before the transmission cut off. Oblivion's Hand split apart, its remains drifting in silent pieces across the void. The moment the flagship died, the rest of the Empire's fleet broke. Some ships fled into hyperspace, others powered down and surrendered. The battle was over. Earth's skies filled with cheers and tears as the surviving warships returned home. Helena's voice came over the fleet channel. Today, humanity stands free, and the galaxy will never forget it. On the Valiant's bridge, Daniel sat back, exhausted. He looked at his crew, at the stars beyond. The war had been won, but something told him this was only the beginning, because now the galaxy knew what humans were capable of.